All right. Hey, it's Monday. It's Monday, and that means it's time for Carry On. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Here, let me just mute our guest there. Hey, everybody. My name's Hal Walker, and I'm your host. It's Monday. It's Carry On. It's a show about traditional music and the people who make it. And we're here every Monday, and I put on a special shirt for today. I've been in a T-shirt for the last 6 months, and I put on a fancy shirt for our guests today, who are some fancy folk from North Carolina. So what's traditional music, you might ask? That's what we're here to find out. Traditional music is music that grows out of the people. It comes out of cultures. All around the world, there are traditional music growing up out of the communities of people. It's passed down from generation to generation for hundreds and thousands of years. And we carry on these traditions and pass them on to the next generation so that they may live on. And we're here on Carry On. That's what we're doing. We're carrying on. We're carrying on the tradition. So with no further ado, let's bring on our guests chiming in from North Carolina. Hey, you guys.
Hello.
All right. Looking good. It's two of you. Yes. James and Ainsley. We don't have Ainsley's name up there, but James McDowell and Ainsley Porchek. Thanks for joining us. So James, this is your turn. You're going to do most of the talking today. Are you a big talker?
I'm not a very big talker, so you may have to pry it out of me.
We're going to do great. He's more of a banjo picker than a talker, I bet.
Yeah, that's how us banjo players work usually.
Yes. So, James, would you just give us the brief introduction to yourself? Some of our listeners may have never heard of your style of music, so give us the summary of James McDowell and bluegrass music.
Okay. Well, I'm James McDowell, and I'm from Western North Carolina in the mountains, and it's an area that's really rich in the bluegrass tradition. I had a lot of family, my grandfather in particular, that was played bluegrass music and gospel music, and so that's something that's always been a part of my culture. So I really wanted to get into that, and I started out on playing guitar and worked my way into the banjo, and I play a 3-finger style banjo where you use picks on your fingers, and you do rolls. It's a style that most people are familiar with Earl Scruggs playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what I do, and I play for the band called Carolina Blue, so that's
right.
That's that Ainsley plays in as well.
James,
And,
when you say mountains, the mountains of western North Carolina, what do you mean by mountains? Is it hills, or are these actually peaks? What are the mountains like? I've never been there before.
It's actually mountains, yeah. This is the Appalachian Mountains here.
Uh-huh.
Like the Great Smoky Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains. In fact, I really live technically in the Blue Ridge section of the Appalachian Mountains. It's all part of the Appalachian, but this is the particular area I'm in is the Blue Ridge.
So when you're driving around, are you going up and down a lot of hills?
Oh yeah,
Huh.
up this hill and down like the Osborne brothers.
I've got to go there. I'm just picturing it. It sounds so beautiful.
It is really pretty, especially in the fall.
And in those mountains, this music has grown up, huh?
Yeah, originally it was settled by a lot of Scotch-Irish immigrants, and so they brought with them a lot of their music from across the sea and a lot of traditional tunes that actually are still around today that they've been passed on through generations.
Wow. Well, let's hear some music. This first piece, I think, is "Turkey in the Straw." Does that song come from the mountains of North Carolina? Do you know?
I don't know, but it's definitely like a traditional tune. A lot of bluegrass people play it, and it's on. I'm going to be playing that on the guitar, which is the instrument I actually started with, and it's it's a real, what I guess I would call a fiddle tune. A lot of
Uh-huh.
the first people that were playing this kind of music started out playing tunes on the fiddle, and that's really where a lot of this music originated.
Well, everyone, we pre-recorded these because we were having some audio challenges. For your benefit, we pre-recorded. Here is James and Ainsley playing "Turkey in the Straw." Enjoy. Yes, that was awesome. That was
Thank
quite
you.
satisfying. Thanks so much. So that's flat picking. That your right hand was actually covered up by Ainsley's guitar, but
My fault.
that's okay.
Yeah,
You guys were both holding a flat pick, right?
right. That's the most common style in bluegrass for guitar playing. Doc Watson, who is also from mountains of North Carolina, kind of I would say would be the originator of that for most. One of the earliest flat picking guitar players that played the
Uh-huh.
melody. There are a lot of other guitar players before that, but mostly they just played chords and rhythm guitar. But
Well, one of our audience members had some information about David Badignani, is a buddy of mine. He says Turkey in the Straw originates from the Old Rose Tree, an Irish ballad tune.
oh
Cool.
wow,
And
I did not know.
that's the coolest thing about traditional music, how it's shared across culture. That's amazing.
Right.
The old rose tree, yes. Well, let's see, James. So I hear that there in the mountains, your grandfather played bluegrass music.
Yeah. My grandfather was named. His name was James McDowell too. I'm named after him.
Are you the third?
No, I'm actually just the second.
All right.
Um, my dad's name was Alvin, but everybody called him Coot though, because when he was a little baby, his sister couldn't say that he looked so cute. She'd say he looks so coot. So that name kind of stuck with him his whole life, and so he was always known as Coot. And anyway, so growing up, he always played with the gospel bluegrass band, and so I listened to him play. And my dad played a little bit of guitar, but he never got into it a lot. But he would always listen to bluegrass music on the radio every weekend when he was home. It would always be playing, and so that's just something I remember distinctly, having those influence. That's the music, and that's like our heritage. The people from our area, that's what we always listened to and played. And so eventually I was about 13, and my parents wanted me to have a hobby. And so they told me you're going to take guitar lessons. And so at
Uh-huh.
first I didn't really want to, but once I started it, I found out that I liked it. And then my dad introduced me to some people like Doc Watson and Tony Rice and several different people on the guitar that I really enjoyed hearing their playing. And of course, it was the bluegrass stuff. So I thought, well, this is where I want to go with it. Then, if I'm going to play, I want to play the music from my home.
Did you ever get to meet some of those guys like Doc Watson or Tony Rice?
I have not. I did get to see Doc Watson in concert a couple times, but I never did get to meet him.
Is Tony Rice still living?
He is, and I would love to meet him one day.
Yeah, I hope so. Maybe he'll see this show and you'll be discovered by Tony.
I would love to meet him.
Uh-huh. Cool. Well, let's play another one. Oh, wait. Actually, I want to ask one more question about the banjo. Like, there's a banjo. I think this next piece we're playing is the banjo. Apparently it came to America from Africa. Do you know a little bit about the history of banjo that you could share with all the people on this, the young people especially who may never have even seen a banjo?
Yeah, I know some of it. So it came from Africa, and a lot of African Americans played it with. They would take like a gourd and put a skin head over top of it, and mostly it was played in a style that we call now claw hammer. And the way that style, instead of using the finger picks like I'm using, they would take their hand and they'd take these two fingers, and I don't know if you've ever looked at a hammer, but it's got those two claws on the back of it.
Yeah,
that's why
right.
they call it a claw hammer. So you take these two fingers and you stroke the banjo downward, and then your thumb would pick the drone string, the fifth string up here. And so that's the style that originated on the banjo, and it got passed down, and the cultures brought it together. The Scotch Irish fiddle tune cultures mixed with the African American cultures, and they would play tunes together and trade instruments, and they would learn the fiddle tunes, and they would learn the tunes from Africa, and that's kind of how the banjo just got into the Appalachian culture. And from there, there was a guy named Snuffy Jenkins, actually. I would say was the first one to do this. He started playing the 5-string banjo with his fingers and doing what they call a rolling pattern. And he influenced a couple of guys named, one was Earl Scruggs, who I mentioned earlier, which is probably most well known because he played on a TV show. He played the theme song for it, and the show was the Beverly Hillbillies.
Ah, wow.
That's where probably I'd say most people have heard the banjo played this style. And so he kind of brought it to the forefront. Another guy that right at that same time is my personal influence. His name is Don Reno. And they both learned from Snuffy Jenkins, and they were both right there at that same time. It's kind of hard to say who really is the first person to play that style, but I would say Snuffy.
Nice.
So anyway, that's where my influence comes from, is more from the Don Reno side.
Well, we've got the next piece is called Turkey Knob, another turkey piece.
Right, yeah, Thanksgiving time.
This is in honor of Thanksgiving. We've got Turkey Knob. Let's hear Turkey Knob, and then we'll find out more. Everybody enjoy Ainsley Porchek and James McDowell playing Turkey Knob. Nice, nice, you guys. That looks
Appreciate it.
quite fun. You're lucky to have each other to play. You know
Yes.
the same tunes. That's great. So do
Well,
you hear?
actually, I just learned that one this morning
Okay.
because it's actually my teacher. I didn't play guitar for long.
She's doing great. She's barely been playing the guitar for just a few months. So
Nice. You're
Good
doing
teacher.
great. So would you hear? Do you hear that? Like, is that the kind of music you would hear around the mountains of West North Carolina?
yeah, stuff like that.
I mean, did you grow up listening to that? Did you go to parties, or were there festivals, or where did you hear the music?
Well, like I said, my grandpa he played in a bluegrass gospel group, so I would listen. He would get a CD out and stuff, and then we'd get to listen to that whenever he made a new CD, and then sometimes we'd go to his shows and listen to that, and then later on, once I did start getting into the music more, there's a lot of festivals around that I would go to, and also there's actually a lot of people that just in the community in the area that I live in. I live in Henderson County, North Carolina, and there's a lot of jam sessions where just people would get together and play bluegrass at certain places. There was like a place I could go and play almost every night of the week if I wanted to.
Nice.
That's where I probably did a lot of my learning as well.
Everyone carrying a banjo case around at those festivals, huh? Or a guitar case. A lot of guitar cases and banjo cases.
Yes.
Sounds
absolutely.
like fun. We're looking forward to those days coming back again.
Yes. Very much so.
So James, how would you suggest a young person who wants to learn the banjo? Where do you start? Is there a particular pattern that you start with?
Yeah, I start with what I call the index forward roll,
Show us that.
which sounds really complicated. Sure. It sounds really complicated. It's really simple. But the reason I call it the index forward roll is because you start off with your index finger. And what I do is, no, you're good, is I put my index finger on the second string, is the string that it's going to pick. And then my middle finger would be on the first string. And my thumb would be on the fifth string. And I would just roll that in a pattern. So when I'm doing a roll, I just mean I play index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb. So it just keeps going over and over.
Yeah.
So that would be the index forward roll. And you can adjust it a little bit for depending on what the melody of the tune is. Like instead of playing the first or the second string with my index finger, I might play the third string. Or maybe the fourth string.
So
that's how I started out.
that's like 1 week of banjo playing. What does 10 years of banjo playing look like then? Show us the super wild stuff for a second.
Oh goodness, I wish I could do that. I'm not. I'm still learning.
You're still learning.
So I never feel like you can learn enough. But let's see. So let's see. We got. There's a couple different styles I do. That's an Eddie Adcock style.
Nice.
Some just more rolling stuff.
Nice, James. I love it. Rolling style. That is sweet. That's what I want to learn. So if someone wants to go on Spotify and find and search for bluegrass music, where should they begin?
Well, personally, I started off with a compilation CD.
Uh-huh.
So really dating myself here. But so what that was is it had a bunch of different artists, some of the original artists, some of the more modern ones, all the way through. And I would I would suggest just starting with something like that. Just find all around bluegrass.
Nice.
And there's a lot of what I call subgenres within it. Um,
Well, James,
and
that's a very humble answer, but I was hoping the answer might lead into our next song. You would say Carolina Blue.
hey, well, I'm all for that too. But
Carolina Blue is the very first place you should go.
well, I won't argue with that at all. But anyway, I would just try to find a style that you like, and then most of what Carolina blues music is patterned after is actually the original traditional stuff. And I found when I listened to that CD that I liked the original sound the best, personally.
Nice.
Personal preference. And so that, especially anyway, even if you like the more modern styles, I would still suggest listening to some of the original stuff, because
Yeah.
that's where everything's built off of.
Right. Well, this is called Longing for Home. It's a little long, so would it be let's watch just about half of this.
Okay.
Longing for Home.
Rolling fields of bluegrass on the hillside, cattle grazing high on a ridge, that old mountain preacher telling us about heaven, in that little country church house round the bend. Let me tell you that time passes slow to a young man. Before you know his mind will start to dream and take him far away to the lights of the city and the pleasures of life that he's never seen. And I wonder if Daddy's still plowing in the meadow. Does the old farmhouse still look the same? Does Mama still sing on the front porch while she's working? Rock of ages, cleft for me.
All right, that was nice.
Thank
Carolina Blue. Carolina Blue, everyone. Go check them out. So that was the instrumentation you need. What's the ideal instrumentation for a bluegrass band?
Usually for a bluegrass band, it'll be a banjo, a guitar, a mandolin, a fiddle, and upright bass. And so that's the most common arrangement. Some people include a dobro, and that's probably the only other instrument that's really incorporated very often. But the normal is the 5-piece band.
Well, James, I'm so grateful to hear that someone young like yourself and also Ainsley, you guys are carrying on this tradition. Is there a group of people your age who are doing this? Like when you go to festivals, is there a nice group of people, young people?
Yeah, there's some great people that really enjoy the traditional style, and would love to encourage a lot more younger people to get into it, because even though there is a good handful, we would love for it to be more well known than it is.
Yes. And we're going to play one more song. This is Follow the Leader. Is this the one that was influenced by Don Reno?
Yes, this is one of his tunes actually that he wrote.
And Don Reno is one of your great influences?
He's my all-time favorite banjo player.
What's so great about Don Reno?
Well,
This is going to take a while.
Give us the 1 minute version.
okay. Well, mostly just because not as many people heard about him. He kind of went under the radar, but I feel like he was really underrated. And so that's one thing that really appeals to me. And then he's so inventive. He doesn't sound like anybody else.
Wow.
He totally sounds his own way.
So when you're playing Follow the Leader in this next piece, will we see some of Don Reno's style?
Yeah, I try to do a lot of his licks in this.
All right, here's our last piece, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. James McDowell and Ainsley Porchek playing Follow the Leader, inspired by Don Reno. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's some fun music. It's very familiar. It sort of feels like it's in our bones, that very American sounding. Thanks to you guys, James and Ainsley, thanks so much for joining us. And everybody, thank you for joining us. This has been fun. Thanks for everyone for using the comments. I encourage you to come back every Monday and use that comment section freely. Speaking of Mondays, next Monday, our next guest is Austin Walkencane. Austin Walkencane, a blues singer-songwriter and slide guitarist from Cleveland, Ohio. And please check out our upcoming schedule at carryontraditionalmusic.com. Before we sign off, I want to thank the Northeast Ohio Musical Heritage Association for sponsoring this show. Thanks to Laura Lewis for producing and programming. And all the students, teachers, and ordinary folk for tuning in. Please help spread the word about Carry On. Let's brainstorm some ways you can do that. Share this YouTube link on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, share a memory of this show. Take a picture of yourself watching our show. Everybody, thanks so much. Hey, James and Ainsley, this was a pleasure. I like the way it worked out well too at pre-recording the songs. It really sounded great.
Well, we appreciate it. Wish it could have been live, but
I know.
Glad it worked out anyway.
Someday we'll all be together in a big up in the mountains listening to some of your beautiful music.
Sounds great.
Everyone, have a great day. I'm going to sign off and hope to see you next Monday. My name's Hal Walker. It's Carry On, a show about traditional music and the people who make it. You guys hang around for a second. I'll be back with you in a second.
All right.
Bye, everybody.